take a look at Dana White. Now, Dana White is the person that I think about when I think about the UFC and also Power Slap. Now, not too long ago, he said in a video that allegedly he owns almost $1 million worth of VeChain, which I find very impressive. I mean, that was news to me because I was like, whoa, I didn't really think about that. Now, of course, we know what VeChain did with the UFC and Power Slap, how it's, quite essentially a sponsor there. And I find that very interesting. But what I find, again, fascinating about all this is that allegedly Dana White said that that's the only crypto he owns and the only ones he's ever bought. So I find that very fascinating again because we take a look at, again, UFC. Sometimes I see crypto.com. I'm surprised Dana didn't acquire CRO, like Crow. So I thought maybe Dana probably got some Crow, but no, actually VeChain allegedly, that's again what he says. Allegedly, again, the only crypto he owns and the only ones he's ever bought. When it comes to VeChain, it's not necessarily considered something that has too much hype or something that has too much, I guess, sort of this attention. But I find this, again, very unique because it's kind of odd to see. I would probably suspect something like Dana to maybe get Bitcoin or maybe Crow because of Crypto.com. But no, again, allegedly, just VeChain, at least hypothetically for now. And granted, some people may argue that, when it comes to nearly $1 million, when it comes to VET, they don't think it's that impressive. And in the grand scheme of things, sure, a lot of people out there hold maybe more VET than that. But then the way you take a look at it is that this is still very amazing nonetheless because, again, Dana is very famous. Usually, these type of projects like VeChain, which I think is very similar to Avalanche or Algorand, I kind of put them in the same sort of category. These type of more serious projects, they typically don't do that type of stuff, where they promote too much or whatever. So I like the approach that VeChain is using because, again, a lot of people watch the UFC. And I think maybe some executives, these top tier management people, if they take a look at something like VeChain, maybe, they might hypothetically take a look at that as a possible solution to maybe improve their supply chain management. Because after all, VeChain is focused on supply chain management. Keep in mind, the supply chain management market, I don't think it's that bad because it is predicted to reach over $58 billion by 2030, according to Polaris Market Research. So it's not a bad market. Not to mention, VeChain allegedly already has partnerships with PwC, which stands for PricewaterhouseCoopers, also Deloitte. We take a look at BMW, H&M. I mean, this is very impressive stuff right here. So when I take a look at something like VeChain, I like the direction in which it's heading. Not to mention, it has a pretty good leadership. That's what I would like to call it, because I think the team is very well experienced. For instance, Sunny Liu, CEO of VeChain, he has a pretty good track record from his days, at Louis Vuitton. So I find that very fascinating that, this is a project with good partnerships. It's willing to kind of do these sponsorships and kind of showcase who they are. Not to mention fundamentals are not bad. And then the team, I like it. So why would I think VeChain is bad? I don't think it's bad. Not to mention VeChain Thor blockchain. Now, this is kind of like a topic that people often debate about because they think that, the VeChain Thor blockchain doesn't have good adoption. They think that, it's not the best. Well, granted, it might not be the best, but I don't think the adoption is that bad. And not to mention, ever since 2018, allegedly zero network outages. That is very impressive. I mean, as amazing as Solana is, allegedly at one point, it did experience 8 different network outages in just a time span of a year. Now, granted, Solana is way better, I think, as of right now when compared to back then, and we do see projects improve. So I don't think it is anything that I would hold over Solana because I think Solana is a very good layer 1 blockchain, but I'm just saying, ever since 2018, we got to consider all the stuff that happened, right? And VeChain Thor allegedly still at zero network outages. That is very reliable in my opinion. And I think enterprises, they do pay attention to stuff like that because why wouldn't they? When it comes to enterprises, I think they do care, and especially for a project that is so heavily focused on supply chain management, this does matter. I mean, again, supply chain management, that needs a lot of reliability in my opinion. Or not, how can the supply chain, be reliable? So then I like VeChain Thor as a blockchain. But even besides that, let's say VET were to go to the price of 30 cents, considering current circulating supply, market cap at that point would be around $26 billion, which I don't think is that crazy in the grand scheme of things. I mean, take a look at BNB, which pretty much exceeded this by around 4 times back in the 2021 bull run. Again, in terms of market cap, where it reached over 100 billion. Again, I'm talking about BNB. Now, 30 cents is around a 13x from here. I get it. Some people out there may be thinking that, who cares about that? Take a look at this microcap and whatnot. And look, VET, of course, which is the primary native token of VeChain, that is not a microcap. The market cap is actually pretty massive. It's not as massive as like Solana or Ethereum, of course, or like BNB, but I'm saying in the grand scheme of things, it's a pretty well-established project that's been around for quite a while, which I don't think is a bad thing. But then, here's the way to take a look at it. Bitcoin, let's say some people are saying, hey, Bitcoin may be hypothetically 300 grand. That's slightly less than a 3x from here. I am not saying that, hey, VET is better than this and that. All I'm saying is that when it comes to VET hypothetically doing a 3x, what would be easier? Bitcoin or something like VET? VET, by nature, it's an altcoin, way lower market cap. Right now, VET or Bitcoin, hands down, is going to have to be VET for me. All I could do right now, the way I take a look at it is just stay patient because, sure, VeChain can have updates. Dana White can say this and that about VeChain. And also, at the end of the day, right, whatever I say about VeChain, if it doesn't want to wake up, it might not wake up. Like, in a sense that I cannot control anything when it comes to the markets. Like, I can't demand it to do this, do that. All I can do is stay patient, which I'm going to do. Continue to acquire, hold, and I just wait. That's it. And just still believe in VeChain because I do like its fundamentals. And seeing Dana White say that about VeChain, I can't say it's too surprising because, of course, VeChain, we take a look at its ties with the UFC and, Power Slap when it comes to the sponsorships and whatnot. So I get why Dana White could be a fan, maybe, allegedly, of VeChain from what I see there. But then at the same time, I just find it unique nonetheless. And I do like to see stuff like that. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I would greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch you all in the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.